Unaware, the wife he mocked had employed his father as a gateman. At her company, husband spat on his wife in front of family. At their anniversary gala, what she did next shocked them all. He didn't just insult her. Under bright lights, with music playing and cameras recording, he grabbed the microphone at their anniversary gala, laughed into it, and told a hall full of guests that his wife was born to fail. Then, when she refused to cry for him, he walked down from the stage and spat on her in front of his entire family. That night, Emily Bennett stood frozen in her navy dress, her cheek wet, her heart cracking in a room full of people who chose to look away. Her husband, Marcus, soaked in the attention like applause. His mother smiled, his sisters laughed. The woman who planned the event, the same one sending him secret messages, watched from the corner with a small, knowing smile. They all thought they knew who Emily was, the quiet wife with the failed skincare business, the woman who once lost money and never recovered, the one clinging to dreams that never worked. But none of them knew where Emily had been going in those early mornings she claimed she couldn't sleep. None of them knew about the company gate she now walked through, the one where an older gateman, her father-in-law, Harold Bennett, always greeted her with respect. He believed she had simply helped him find honest work. He had no idea the calm woman he called ma'am was the hidden owner of the entire company. And Marcus himself had no idea his own father now worked as a gateman for the wife he mocked as a failure. And not a single person in that ballroom knew what Emily had prepared for the moment after the spit. Dear viewers, this is not just about a cruel husband. It's about what happens when the woman everyone laughed at decides she will never be silent again. Before we begin, please like this video, subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Your support keeps stories like Emily's alive. The alarm had not even rung when Emily Lawson Bennett, 32, jolted awake, heart pounding, breath tight, as if her dreams were warning her to hurry. She sat up sharply, scanning the dim bedroom like someone guarding a precious secret. The air was still, quiet, heavy with the kind of silence that holds more truth than comfort. And in that silence, Emily moved quickly, almost urgently, toward the small desk in the corner. This was where her real life lived, not the life she showed her husband, not the life his family believed she deserved, but the life she had been building, piece by fragile piece, in the dark hours before sunrise. Emily was a gentle woman, soft-spoken, calm, the type whose kindness showed even in the way she folded blankets or brewed tea. But under that softness was steel. Years of being underestimated had taught her how to fight quietly. She opened her worn notebook, the one she never let anyone touch. On the front, written in faded pen, was a name she rarely used anymore. EL, Future Brand Vision, her maiden initials. Inside were pages filled with formulas, drawings, research notes, ingredient lists. Everything she had dreamed of since she was a 15-year-old girl following her late Aunt Rose around the garden. That memory rose softly now, like light from another world. Emily sat cross-legged beside Aunt Rose, who was 70 then, warm and full of old-fashioned wisdom. The older woman mixed herbs in a wooden bowl while explaining their healing powers. She placed the bowl in Emily's hands. One day, Aunt Rose had said, "You'll turn this into something greater than I ever could. Don't let anyone tell you your dream is silly." That promise had shaped Emily's heart. When Aunt Rose passed away 2 years later, she left Emily everything: her recipe journals, her garden notes, and a small inheritance. That inheritance would later become the seed money Emily used to start her first skincare business, the one Marcus mocked. Emily gently touched the pages as if touching the past. She still remembered how proud she had been when she launched her first handmade skincare line, Rose Herb Naturals. Marcus, who she married at 27, had cheered for her then. He was supportive in those early days, always promising to have her back. But stress changed him. His sales job drained him, bitterness crept in, and eventually he began to see Emily's dream as a burden, something childish, something beneath him, and he made sure she felt it. Whenever she worked on her products, he would sigh loudly, mumble under his breath, or tell her she was wasting her time. He began calling her the dreamer, not with love, but with a smirk. He also started telling his family about her failed attempt, twisting facts, making it sound like she lost his money when it was really her inheritance. In the 2 years since that collapse, Emily had learned to keep the deeper parts of her dream hidden. She still experimented, still studied, but only when he slept or left for work early. The notebook became something sacred and dangerous. But Emily still hoped this anniversary week would be different. Marcus's family was coming tonight, and she prayed they could all avoid another round of mockery. As Emily sketched a new bottle design in the quiet morning light, the floor creaked. Her eyes widened. She quickly closed the notebook, slipped to the edge of the bed, pulled up a loose floorboard, and slid the book underneath. She pressed the wood down gently, covering her secret. Again. It wasn't fear of Marcus discovering the notebook. It was the fear of hearing him laugh. Emily stood and smoothed her nightgown just as Marcus Bennett, 35, stepped out of the bathroom. Tall, broad-shouldered, sharp-eyed, and increasingly sharp-tongued, he was the man she once believed would protect her dreams. Now he treated those dreams like a joke he didn't finish laughing at. He glanced at her with the kind of half-annoyed, half-tired look he often wore in the mornings. "You're up early again," he muttered. Emily forced a smile. "Couldn't sleep." "Chach." He shrugged and grabbed his shirt. "Don't start that business stuff today. My family's coming, remember? Let's not embarrass ourselves again." Embarrass ourselves. He meant her. Emily said nothing. She had learned silence kept peace. As Marcus turned away to check his watch, her phone vibrated on the dresser. A soft buzz. A single light. A text message. Emily casually reached for it, but her heart jumped when she saw the sender's name. Investor Mentor. A name she prayed Marcus would never notice. The only person guiding her toward rebuilding her dream, secretly, carefully, one step at a time. She opened the message for a single second. "Good news. We're ready to move forward. Legal review is clear." Her breath hitched. Footsteps turned. Marcus was walking toward her. Emily deleted the message instantly, locked her phone, and placed it face down just as he reached her side. He narrowed his eyes. "Who are you texting?" Emily smiled softly, but inside her heart pounded. She whispered, "No one important. Not yet." The front door burst open so suddenly that Emily jumped, nearly spilling the bowl she was holding. The crash of loud footsteps cut through the house like an alarm. She had just finished rinsing a small pot where she'd been boiling herbal samples for testing earlier that morning. The faint scent still floated in the air. Without warning or greeting, Margaret Bennett, Marcus's 58-year-old mother, stormed into the living room with her usual force. The kind of presence that made everyone else shrink. She was tall, sharp-tongued, and proud of her authority over her 3 children. And right behind her were Marcus's 2 sisters, Vanessa, 34, and Claire, 29, both wearing matching smug expressions. "Emily!" Margaret shouted, already judging the room with narrowed eyes. "Why does the house smell like that again? Are you still boiling those strange herbs?" Vanessa snickered. "She's still holding on to that little lotion hobby. Bless her heart," Claire chimed in. "Some people don't know when to quit." Their words were knives, sharp, familiar, and intentionally placed. Emily forced a calm smile even as her stomach tightened. They weren't even supposed to arrive until later. Marcus must have told them to come early without warning her. He always liked catching her off guard. She knew exactly what was happening. Marcus must have gotten to them. He always did. Whenever he felt insecure or stressed, he filled their ears with versions of the story that made him look like the victim. And now they came armed with his words. Emily tried to greet them warmly, but Margaret raised a hand sharply, cutting her off. "Marcus told us you're still wasting time on that silly dream," Margaret said. "Why don't you listen to him? He knows better." Emily lowered her eyes, hiding the sting. She wanted to answer, to defend herself, but Margaret Bennett was not a woman who allowed explanations. She only wanted obedience. Behind them, Marcus appeared at the doorway, pretending to be surprised by their early arrival. But the satisfaction in his eyes gave him away. He had done this on purpose. He wanted witnesses. Witnesses to her failure. Witnesses to her silence. Emily moved to take their coats, trying to stay polite. But as she hung Margaret's jacket, a wave of painful memory washed over her. Her first business attempt, Rose Herb Naturals, had been destroyed by a supplier scam. The scammers took the money and vanished. Emily had cried for days trying to understand how everything went wrong. She remembered sitting on the kitchen floor, hugging her knees, while Marcus stood above her saying, "I told you this was stupid. Now look at us. You wasted everything." But she hadn't wasted his money. She had used her aunt's inheritance, something Marcus conveniently left out when retelling the story to his family. Emily blinked back to the present, trying to swallow the hurt as Claire whispered loudly to Vanessa, "Imagine being married and still playing with creams." Emily set her jaw. She wanted to say that it wasn't play. It wasn't silly. It was her calling, but she stayed quiet. She needed her strength for something bigger. Later, as the family settled in, Emily walked past the hallway and heard Marcus talking on his phone. His voice was low, smoother than usual, a tone he never used with her. "Trust me, babe," he said, chuckling softly. "She'll never succeed. She can't even organize her own day." A woman's laugh drifted through the speaker, soft, flirtatious, intimate. Emily froze, her breath caught, her chest tightened. Her fingers trembled. She stepped back slowly so he wouldn't see her. Something inside her shifted, not fear, not confusion. Something colder. As Marcus ended the call, he walked past Emily without noticing her, humming lightly, looking pleased with himself. Emily quietly turned away and headed to the laundry room. She needed a moment to breathe, a moment to gather herself. She opened the laundry basket, just to fold towels, just to distract her mind. But her hand stopped mid-motion. Inside the basket, tangled between Marcus's shirts, was a bracelet, a delicate gold bracelet, shiny, new, beautiful, and definitely not hers. Emily lifted it with 2 fingers, staring at it as her heartbeat thundered in her ears. It smelled faintly of perfume, the same perfume she smelled earlier when Marcus passed by her in the hallway after that call. Her throat tightened. The room suddenly felt too small, the air too thin. She closed her hand around the bracelet and whispered to herself, "This wasn't left here by mistake." And just as she placed the bracelet into her pocket, a soft vibration came from her phone in the kitchen. A message, a warning, a signal of what was coming next. Emily whispered, almost trembling, "If this bracelet belongs to who I think it does, everything is about to change." Emily slammed the laundry room door shut behind her, her breath shaking, the bracelet burning in her palm like a confession. The intensity of the moment crashed over her in waves. Marcus's secret phone call, the perfume, the laughter, the mocking words from his family. Everything squeezed her chest until she felt she might burst. She placed the bracelet on the counter and stared at it, her hands trembling, her mind spun with questions. Who was the woman? How long had this been going on? Why was it hidden in their laundry? But before she could piece anything together, another memory pushed itself into her thoughts. Sharp, painful, and impossible to ignore. A memory she had tried to bury. Her failure, her collapse. The moment everything changed. The room blurred and she felt herself sinking into that day. The day she watched her first dream crumble. 2 years earlier, boxes stacked everywhere, papers scattered on her small office desk. Emily, then 30, stood staring at her laptop while tears flooded her eyes. A flashing red message blinked on the screen. Supplier unreachable. Transaction canceled. Funds lost. Her suppliers hadn't just failed her. They had stolen from her. She tried calling, tried emailing, tried every number she had. Nothing. It was over. She remembered sliding down the wall, sinking onto the cold floor, hugging her legs, barely able to breathe. Her skincare business, Rose Herb Naturals, was gone. All her aunt's inheritance money had vanished into thin air. She felt like she had failed her aunt, failed herself. Then Marcus walked in. Marcus Bennett, her husband, 2 years older at 32, with his expensive tie still around his neck and frustration already on his face. He took one look at her and didn't ask what was wrong. He didn't kneel beside her. He didn't comfort her. Instead, he said, "Are you crying again?" "Emily, this is embarrassing. You're embarrassing me." The words hit harder than the failure itself. When she tried to explain, he didn't listen. He paced the room, shaking his head, blaming her for trusting the wrong people, for not asking his opinion, for wasting more money on nonsense. Then came the sentence she would never forget. And from now on, don't use my last name for your business. I don't want it attached to failure. Those words cut deeper than any scam or betrayal ever could. Emily wiped her tears and looked up at him, unable to find her voice. Marcus continued, "Shut it down, all of it. You're done." And in that moment, something inside Emily splintered quietly. She shut the business down like he demanded. But she also shut down something else, her willingness to share her dreams with him. Present time. Emily pulled herself back to the present, breathing slowly to calm the tightness in her chest. She looked at the bracelet again, but this time her eyes held something new: clarity. Because it wasn't the first time Marcus had made her feel small. It wasn't the first time he used her vulnerability to boost his pride, and it wasn't the first time his family had treated her like she was nothing. No, this was a pattern, one she had survived once before, and she had vowed never to let it break her again. She reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. Her hand hovered for a moment before she unlocked it. She opened her secret email account, the one she used only for business, one Marcus didn't know existed. At the top was a new message: legal review complete, all documents ready for CEO Lawson. Emily's breath caught. That title, CEO Lawson, still felt unreal to her. Powerful, free. The email was from the law firm that had helped her register her new company, Mr. Reynolds' office. After losing everything, she rebuilt her dream in silence. She worked with an investor, mentor she met through a business recovery forum, a woman named Ava Turner, 45, a retired corporate consultant who believed in helping women rise again. Emily met Ava online first, then over private calls, then through late-night video meetings while Marcus slept. With Ava's guidance, Emily started over under her maiden name, legally separated from Marcus's reach. She opened accounts in her own name, as her lawyer advised. She saved every penny she could. She took small steps, and slowly, over months, her new brand grew. Now her dream was no longer tiny, no longer fragile, no longer something Marcus could control. She was a CEO, quietly, secretly, powerfully. Emily read the email again, her throat tightening. Everything was real. Everything was ready. But then, footsteps, heavy, right outside the laundry room. Marcus. Emily's heart jumped. She hit log out so fast her finger burned against the screen. She shoved the phone into her pocket just as the door opened. Marcus leaned on the doorframe, watching her carefully. "What are you hiding now, Emily?" he asked, voice low. Emily kept her face still. "Nothing." "Oh?" Marcus smirked. "Then why do you look so nervous?" She looked down at the bracelet in her hand, and slowly, Marcus followed her gaze. His eyes narrowed. "What's that?" Emily swallowed hard. She whispered, "Something that won't stay hidden for long." The doorbell rang so violently it made Emily flinch, jerking her out of her tense stare with Marcus. For a second, she thought he might grab the bracelet from her hand. Instead, his jaw clenched, and he glanced toward the hallway with irritation. "Who's here this early?" he muttered, turning away. Emily exhaled shakily, slipped the bracelet back into her pocket, and followed him. When she opened the door, she froze. Not out of fear this time, but out of shock. Mr. Harold Bennett, Marcus's father, 70 years old, stood on the porch. But he didn't look like the lively, polite man she remembered. His shoulders slumped. His clothes hung loosely. His eyes held exhaustion she had never seen before. "Dad?" Marcus said, surprised. "Why are you here so early?" Harold forced a smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Didn't want to interrupt your day later." Emily stepped forward gently. "Mr. Bennett, please come in." Of all the people in Marcus's family, Harold was the only one who treated her like she mattered. He was quiet, humble, and respectful. Emily always felt safe around him. As they entered the living room, Harold sat with a slow, tired sigh. Emily noticed his hands shaking slightly. She knelt beside him. "Are you okay?" she whispered. Harold hesitated. He glanced at Marcus, who was looking at his phone, and lowered his voice even more. "I lost my job," he said. "After 25 years. They said I'm too old now." Emily's heart cracked. Harold had always been hardworking, never complained, never asked anyone for help. Soft images surfaced in her mind. Harold fixing her bicycle brakes when she was first dating Marcus. Harold carrying heavy shelves for her first business, even when his back hurt. Harold smiling proudly at her first product launch, telling her quietly, "Your aunt would be proud." He had always been kind. He had always believed in her. Emily placed a hand on his arm. "I'm so sorry. Truly." Harold shook his head. "I'll be fine. I'll find something." But his eyes said otherwise. Emily glanced at Marcus. He hadn't looked up once. He was too busy texting, his thumbs moving quickly, his expression too focused for a simple work message. The same perfume from the bracelet seemed to cling faintly to his shirt. Marcus was either clueless to his father's pain, or he simply didn't care. Emily swallowed, choosing her next words carefully. "Mr. Bennett, would you take any honest work, even if it's simple?" Harold nodded without hesitation. "I would. I don't want charity, just dignity." Emily smiled softly. "I understand," he added quickly. "But please, don't tell Marcus. He'll just mock me again. Last time he said I'm falling behind with age. I can't hear that today." Emily felt a slow burn in her chest. Not anger, but determination. "I won't tell him," she promised. "And I might know a company hiring." Harold blinked. "You do?" Emily nodded but didn't give details. "Let me check on something. I'll let you know soon." Harold didn't push. He trusted her, the same way he had trusted her dream years ago. Later, after he left, Emily went upstairs and texted her HR manager, Mrs. Daniels, a trustworthy 50-year-old woman who handled all hiring for Lawson Organics. Emily told her, "A good man needs work. Please interview him quietly. I'll stay out of it. Don't mention I referred him." And she meant it. She would never put Harold in an uncomfortable position. He would go through HR like any applicant. He would never know she founded the company, and his dignity would stay intact. Days passed. The anniversary gala drew closer. In that time, Harold interviewed, completed the process, and was hired as the gatekeeper at Lawson Organics' main site. Emily watched from a distance through reports and short HR updates, never once calling attention to herself. Helping Harold made her feel whole again, like her dream could lift more than just herself. But her peace didn't last. One night long after Marcus had fallen asleep, Emily's phone buzzed with a message from her investor mentor, Ava. "Ava, board documents look strong. Once you're ready, we can go public with your CEO title." Emily checked it quickly, then deleted it, just like she always did. She placed the phone on the nightstand and drifted off, exhausted. Minutes later, Marcus rolled toward her. His eyes opened. He glanced at her sleeping face, then at the phone. He knew her fingerprint unlocked it. He had watched her enough times. He gently lifted her hand, pressed her finger against the screen, and the phone opened with a quiet click. Marcus began scrolling. His expression changed from curiosity to confusion, to cold suspicion as he saw unfamiliar names, business emails, and the word CEO near her surname Lawson. He didn't understand everything yet, but he understood one thing. Emily was hiding something big. Marcus whispered into the dark, "So this is what you've been hiding from me." Emily. The next morning hit like a slap. Emily walked into the dining room and froze. Marcus stood with his family gathered around him, Margaret, Vanessa, and Claire, all laughing at something he had just said. His tone was loud, confident, cruel. "Not everyone can be a breadwinner," Marcus declared, glancing at Emily with a smirk. "Some women are just built for failure." Vanessa burst into laughter. Claire nudged her mother, who grinned proudly as if her son had just delivered a brilliant joke. Their voices cut into Emily like small, sharp blades. Emily stood still, her hand tightening around the back of a chair. Marcus knew she was there. He wanted her to hear it. He always wanted witnesses when he humiliated her. Her pulse beat painfully against her chest, but she kept her expression calm. She wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing her break. She simply turned and walked to the living room, breathing slowly, feeling tears burn behind her eyes. But when she reached the coffee table to clean up, something impossible to ignore caught her attention. Marcus's phone lit up with a bright notification where he'd left it, face up. She didn't mean to look. She wasn't searching for proof. She was just exhausted, broken, trying to breathe. but the message stared at her like a confession. Mistress, I'll wear what you like tonight. Can't wait. Emily's breath left her body. Her fingers shook. Her heart thudded painfully. Another message flashed. Mistress, don't worry, your wife won't suspect a thing. Emily stepped back slowly, the room spinning around her. Her throat tightened so much she could barely swallow. She looked toward the dining room where Marcus was laughing loudly with his sisters, completely carefree, completely unashamed. The bracelet in her pocket suddenly made sense. It wasn't a forgetful accident. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was her husband's betrayal, undeniable, deliberate, and happening right inside their home. Emily forced herself to take a breath, then another, gripping the edge of the table to steady herself. 3 years earlier, she remembered sitting at her workbench late at night, carefully mixing ingredients for a new formula, excitedly telling Marcus she believed this one might be her breakthrough. Marcus didn't even look up from his phone. He shrugged and said, "That's nice," in a flat tone. Then he walked out of the room, leaving her talking to herself. 2 years earlier, she cried after losing her business. Marcus simply sighed loudly and walked past her, muttering, "Drama again?" 1 year earlier, she tried to show him her new business plans. He said he didn't have time and told her to put those papers somewhere else. The memories stacked like heavy stones, one on top of another, crushing any lingering hope she had left. For years, she had mistaken his coldness for stress. For years, she thought he just didn't understand her dream. But now she could see clearly. His lack of support wasn't confusion. It was cruelty, and betrayal had been building far longer than she realized. Emily wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, anger and heartbreak twisting together inside her. She picked up her own phone and stepped quietly into the hallway, away from the noise. She dialed a number she had saved months ago from her company paperwork, but never used for something personal. Her lawyer, Mr. Reynolds, a calm and detail-oriented man in his 40s who handled both business and family cases. He answered immediately. "Emily, is everything all right?" Emily swallowed hard. Her voice barely came out. "If someone humiliates you publicly, what are your rights?" There was a pause, a serious one. "What happened?" he asked gently. "Nothing yet," she whispered, "but I want to be ready." Mr. Reynolds exhaled slowly. "Then listen carefully. Record everything. Keep all evidence. Never confront him alone, especially if he's angry. And don't tell him what you know until you're protected." Emily nodded, though he couldn't see it. "Okay." "And Emily," the lawyer added. "Yes? Forward any proof you already have, messages, photos, anything, from your own phone. We'll store it safely." Emily glanced back toward the living room, at the sound of Marcus's laughter. "I will." She ended the call and, with shaking hands, quickly snapped discreet photos of the messages still glowing on Marcus's screen before they disappeared. Later, in the privacy of the bedroom, she forwarded them to a secure email address Mr. Reynolds had given her and deleted the traces from her own regular inbox. She already knew what this meant. Things were moving towards something she could no longer avoid. Then she heard Marcus's footsteps approaching. Emily whispered under her breath, "If he humiliates me again, I'll be ready this time." 2 weeks later, on the night of their anniversary gala, the music hit Emily like a shock wave the moment she stepped through the ballroom doors. Loud, grand, overwhelming. Lights flashed, guests clapped, cameras clicked. It felt like walking into a storm she had no control over. Marcus held her hand tightly, not lovingly, but like a man keeping possession of something he wanted people to see, not something he valued. "Smile," he whispered through clenched teeth. "People are watching." His voice was not gentle. It was a warning. Emily lifted her chin and forced a soft smile. Inside, her stomach twisted. The gala was huge, far more extravagant than anything they should be spending freely on. Especially with his secret hotel charges she'd seen in the bank statements Mr. Reynolds quietly obtained. Gold curtains, crystal tables, tall flower arrangements, a live band. Marcus had planned it to perfection, not because he loved her, but because he loved attention. He wanted everyone to believe their marriage was perfect. He wanted to impress his colleagues, his friends, his arrogant sisters. But he didn't spend a single dollar on her dress. Emily had bought it herself, a simple navy gown she found on discount days ago. Marcus didn't even ask what she would wear. In the weeks between that morning of betrayal and tonight, Emily hadn't just cried. She had moved. She'd forwarded evidence to her lawyer. She'd watched as Reynolds and his team legally pulled joint account statements and confirmed hotel bookings. She and Ava had compressed screenshots, recordings, and documents into a single, carefully labeled USB drive. All loaded, all timed, all waiting. The moment they entered, Margaret, Vanessa, and Claire surrounded Marcus like he was a celebrity. They glanced at Emily and whispered loudly enough for her to hear, "Tonight we'll finally tell everyone she's a failure. And she still dresses like a school teacher. At least the decorations look nice." Marcus's choice, obviously. Emily kept walking. She wouldn't crumble. Not in front of them. Still, each word felt like a brick added to the weight on her chest. As the lights changed colors, Emily scanned the room and froze. Across the hall stood a woman with carefully styled hair in a fitted black dress. She held a clipboard, adjusting table placements, speaking to staff, an event planner. Her name was Talia Brooks, 28, attractive and confident. The kind of woman who enjoyed being watched. And Marcus was staring at her. Not just staring, connecting. Their eyes locked for a second too long. Her lips curved into a private smile. Marcus nodded subtly. Emily felt something cold sink into her stomach. Of course Marcus would hire her as the event planner. Of course the bracelet belonged to Talia. Of course the messages were hers. Emily swallowed her ache. She had no proof she could show anyone about Talia's bracelet yet, only the texts and statements. So she stood still, watching the two of them pretend to be strangers, while the secret between them pulsed in the air. The voices around her started fading, becoming distant. Then her phone buzzed. She stepped aside and checked it discreetly. HR manager, Mrs. Daniels. "Your gatekeeper is doing great. Very respectful man. Staff already love him." Emily's breath softened. A small smile tugged at her lips. They meant Harold Bennett, Marcus's father. He had gotten the job. He was doing well. He didn't know she was the CEO behind his hiring, and he didn't know his son was betraying her. The contrast hit her hard. The father was loyal. The son was cruel. Emily closed the message, heart tightening with gentle warmth for Harold. He deserved dignity, something Marcus never gave anyone. She slipped her phone back into her clutch and looked around the room again. Marcus was laughing loudly by the drinks, performing for the crowd. Talia hovered nearby, pretending to organize napkins. Too close, too familiar. Everything felt fake. Everything felt staged. This entire gala was built on lies, and Emily was done playing along. Her fingers touched the inside of her purse until she felt the small silver USB she brought. The evidence she and Mr. Reynolds had arranged in a specific order, videos, screenshots, transaction records. The truth she planned to reveal. Earlier that evening, before guests arrived, she had approached the side booth where the event technician sat adjusting sound levels. He was a young man named Daniel Reed, 25, focused, professional, wearing a headset and black polo. Emily had leaned in quietly and whispered, "Can you also record my husband's speech? He wants to remember the moment. And I need you to play something for me later." Daniel had looked up. "We're already set to record from the stage camera, ma'am. What do you need me to play?" Emily handed him the USB. "When I signal, cut the regular feed and play everything on this. Start with the latest clip you record from the stage." He'd nodded, slightly confused but respectful. "Understood." Now, as she watched Marcus soaking in the room's admiration, Emily knew what this meant. Tonight would not end the way Marcus expected. Tonight would not be his glory. Tonight, truth was waiting to explode. From across the room, Marcus watched her. His eyes narrowed suspiciously. Emily whispered to herself, "One signal, and everything changes." The microphone slammed against the stand with a sharp crack that cut through the ballroom, snapping every eye toward the stage. Marcus stood in the center, spotlight hitting his chest like he was the king of the night. His smile was wide, fake, and hungry for applause. "Ladies and gentlemen," Marcus shouted, arms spread wide, "tonight we celebrate another year with my beautiful wife, Emily." The crowd clapped politely. Emily stood at the bottom of the stage, her hands folded calmly, the USB signal burning in her mind. Her body felt tight, prepared, waiting. At the tech booth in the back, Daniel's small red rec light glowed, capturing every second of Marcus's speech just like she'd asked. Marcus continued, pacing proudly across the platform. Not everyone knows this, but marriage comes with sacrifices. He leaned forward dramatically, especially when your partner has big dreams that lead nowhere. The audience chuckled. His family roared with laughter. Margaret clapping, Vanessa elbowing Claire, both smirking proudly at Marcus's words. Emily stayed still. Her face did not move. She had learned long ago that reacting only fed him. Marcus fed off attention, like air. He lifted his glass. Let's talk about dreams, shall we? Some dreams are wonderful. Some dreams make money. He glanced directly at Emily. And some dreams burn thousands of dollars and leave you broke. His words cut through the hall like knives. Gasps scattered. People whispered. Emily's fingers curled into her palm. She didn't move. Marcus wasn't finished. He walked to the edge of the stage, towering over Emily. My wife thought she could run a business. He laughed bitterly. She wasted time, energy, and, yes, my money, all gone. Emily's eyes lifted. Lie. He was lying about the money. He always lied. And now he was performing those lies in front of an entire ballroom. Margaret clapped loudly. Tell them, son, Vanessa laughed. Finally someone says it. And near the buffet table, Talia, his mistress, stood smiling with her clipboard tucked under her arm, eyes sparkling at the show. Marcus gave her a tiny nod, almost invisible to anyone except Emily. But Emily saw everything. The betrayal, the humiliation, the secret pride he took in hurting her. Marcus looked down at her, drunken with arrogance. Come on, Emily, say something. This is an anniversary. Smile for the guests. Emily stared at him, her expression calm, almost peaceful. Her silence enraged him. Marcus stepped down a single stair. Nothing to say about your failure? He took another step, another, until he was standing right in front of her. Then, without warning, without hesitation, Marcus leaned forward and spat on her. A thick drop hit her cheek. Loud gasps exploded through the room. Someone dropped a glass. The music stopped. Silence swallowed the entire ballroom. Guests froze. Margaret's smile dropped. Vanessa's eyes widened. Claire covered her mouth. Even Talia stepped back. Marcus stood breathing hard. His face twisted with superiority until he realized what he had done. For the first time that night, he looked unsure. The room wasn't laughing anymore. At the back, Daniel's hand hovered over the console, horrified, but the camera was still rolling, capturing everything. Emily didn't move. She simply lifted her hand and wiped her cheek, slowly, gracefully, like dusting away a smudge. And in that silent moment, Emily changed. Her face softened, her shoulders relaxed, but her eyes, calm, cold, unbroken, held a strength Marcus had never seen, a strength that made him step back. 2 seconds, a whisper of memory, her late aunt sitting beside her saying, "Never let someone take your dignity, not even the one you love." Emily straightened. She looked at Marcus, not like a wife looking at a husband, but like a queen looking at a man who would never stand beside her again. Then she turned away from him. She lifted her hand. At the tech booth, Daniel saw the movement he'd been told to watch for. His heart hammered, but he followed instructions. He pressed the button. The ballroom lights shut off with a violent pop. People screamed softly in the dark. Phones lit up. Whispers rose. Daniel quickly saved the last seconds of the recording. Marcus's spit, the shock, the silence, and pushed the preloaded playlist from Emily's USB to the main screen, starting with that fresh clip. Then a giant screen at the front flickered awake. A video began to play. Marcus spun toward the technician. "What are you doing? Turn it off." But it was too late. The screen brightened, white light flashing across the stunned guests. Talia's face turned pale. Marcus's hands trembled. Emily stepped aside, her expression unreadable as the truth began to roll. In the darkness beneath the screen's glow, Emily whispered, "Let them see who you really are." The ballroom erupted into pure chaos the moment the screen lit up. Gasps exploded like firecrackers. People covered their mouths, phones lifted instantly, recording everything. On the screen, the video replayed in full brightness. Marcus stepping down from the stage, looking at Emily with disgust. And then, the spit. The sound echoed from the speakers. The image froze on Emily's face at the moment it hit her. A thick, heavy silence swallowed the room. Marcus staggered forward. "Turn that off. Do you hear me? Turn it off." But no one moved. No one blinked. No one stood by him. Not even his family. His mother, Margaret, shrank into her seat, face turning pale. Vanessa and Claire stared wide-eyed, unable to speak. The guests, some of them Marcus's colleagues, some clients, some friends, looked shocked and uncomfortable. The crowd parted as Emily stepped forward slowly, calm, composed, unshakable. The entire room felt her presence shift, like a quiet storm gathering strength. Beside her stood Mr. Reynolds, her lawyer, holding a small leather folder. He maintained a steady posture, hands behind his back, waiting for Emily's signal. He had arrived earlier that evening as a business guest, but now his role was clear. Marcus turned to Emily, face red. "You did this? You're trying to embarrass me on our anniversary?" Emily didn't raise her voice. Instead, her tone was soft, so soft the guests leaned in to hear. "No, Marcus, you embarrassed yourself. I'm only showing the truth." The screen behind her shifted. Daniel followed the playlist Emily and Reynolds had prepared. A second video appeared, a recorded audio call with subtitles taken from messages and voice notes Emily had legally obtained from her own devices. Marcus's voice filled the room, speaking to his mistress, Talia. "She'll never succeed. She's built for failure." Gasps rippled through the crowd like a wave. Talia froze, dropping her clipboard. Marcus spun toward her with panic in his eyes. "You told her?" he hissed, but Emily shook her head gently. "No, Marcus, she didn't tell me. You told me. Every time you underestimated me." The room felt like it stopped breathing. Emily lifted her chin and spoke clearly, her voice echoing across the hall. "Let's correct a few lies you've told tonight." Marcus blinked, confused and trembling. Emily took a breath. "First," she said, "I never used your money, not a single dollar. The funds I used for my first business were from my aunt, the woman who raised me. You lied to everyone when you said I wasted your savings." On the screen, a scanned copy of the inheritance deposit from Aunt Rose's account appeared, with Emily's name on it, long before she married Marcus. Emily looked directly at Margaret. "You all mocked me for something that wasn't even yours to lose." Margaret's face crumpled in humiliation, her earlier pride dissolving in front of strangers. Emily continued, "Second, my business didn't die. I rebuilt it, quietly, patiently, with guidance from a mentor who believed in me when you didn't." The screen changed again, showing product photos, packaging, storefronts, Lawson Organics glowing across the screen in elegant letters. Clips of customer reviews and small media articles appeared one after another. The audience murmured. "Lawson Organics?" someone whispered. "That's hers?" Another voice gasped. "That company is exploding right now. My wife uses their products." Marcus staggered backward as realization hit him. Emily stepped into the light, her eyes never leaving Marcus. "I am Lawson," she said softly. "Emily Lawson, founder and CEO of one of the fastest-growing skincare companies this year." The crowd erupted with whispers. Phones filmed every word. Marcus's jaw dropped. His lips trembled. He looked like someone whose world had cracked open beneath his feet. "As you mocked me, laughed at me, cheated on me," Emily continued, "I was building something far bigger than you ever imagined." Marcus collapsed into a chair, shaking his head. No, you can't. You, CEO? No." Emily did not blink. Then, slowly, Emily revealed the truth that shattered the room completely. "And finally, your father." Harold Bennett, standing near the rear doors in his modest suit for the gala, looked up in confusion. He had come to support his son, still not fully understanding why Emily needed a lawyer present. Emily met his eyes with warmth, not shame. "You said you needed honest work," she said softly, "and I recommended you to a company I trusted." She placed a hand over her heart. "My company? A collective gasp filled the hall. Harold's eyes widened. You're the CEO? Ms. Lawson is... He broke off, stunned, finally piecing together her maiden name with the company brand. Yes, Emily said gently, but I never told you because I didn't want to embarrass you. You deserve dignity, and you've earned every bit of it. Harold covered his mouth, overwhelmed. Marcus looked between them wildly. Dad? You're working for her company? She played us. But Harold stepped forward, shaking his head slowly. No, son, she didn't play anyone. You did this to yourself. Marcus's world collapsed right in front of him. Emily turned to Daniel, the technician, who nodded respectfully. Everything was ready. Her lawyer stepped forward, opened the folder, and handed her a set of documents. The final blow. Emily faced Marcus with steady eyes. Marcus Bennett, she said, voice strong. She pulled out a legal envelope and held it out for everyone to see. You are being served. Gasps, whispers, phones recording. Marcus lunged forward. Served? For what? Emily's eyes darkened with final, cold clarity. You'll find out in court. The ballroom exploded into shouting the moment Emily spoke the words, You are being served. The intensity hit like thunder. Voices rising, cameras flashing, Marcus stumbling backward as if the floor had tilted beneath him. He grabbed the edge of a table, breathing hard. No, Emily, wait, he shouted, reaching for the envelope. But Mr. Reynolds, her lawyer, stepped between them like a shield. Don't touch her, Mr. Bennett. Marcus's chest heaved. You can't do this, not here, not in front of everyone. Emily lifted her chin. This is exactly where it needs to happen. Then the screen behind her shifted again. A new slideshow began, also prepared by Reynolds' team. Receipts, screenshots, hotel bookings, gift confirmations, messages between Marcus and Talia. Proof, not rumors, not guesses, proof of everything. The first text displayed, enlarged so everyone could see. Talia, booked the room. Same place as last week? Marcus, yeah, use my card, she'll never notice. Gas filled the room again. Someone whispered, oh my God. Another murmured, he used their money? The next screenshot appeared. Marcus, bought you the necklace you wanted. Don't tell my wife. Marcus lunged toward the stage. Turn it off right now. Talia took one look at the screen, then stepped away from him as if touching him might burn her. She covered her face and whispered, I can't be part of this. I didn't know he'd get caught. You knew I was married, Marcus snapped. Talia backed up, shaking her head. You said your wife was useless. You said she'd never amount to anything. Emily's lawyer lifted a finger calmly. There's more. The next set of screenshots showed bank transfers from a joint marital account. Money Marcus had secretly funneled to Talia. Hotel reservations, spa packages, flowers, trips. Every transaction was time-stamped and labeled, with the joint account clearly bearing both Marcus and Emily's names. Margaret, Marcus's mother, shot out of her chair. Marcus Alexander Bennett, you used your wife's marriage funds on another woman? His sisters stared as if seeing him for the first time. Claire snapped, Are you insane? You're ruining the entire family. Vanessa hissed, Idiot! You complete idiot! Marcus's face went red, then purple. He looked trapped inside a collapsing world. He pointed at Emily desperately. You hacked me! This is illegal! You're crazy! Mr. Reynolds stepped forward calmly. All items were obtained through legal channels. Mrs. Bennett had full right to request records from the joint account. The rest came from data she already possessed on her own devices. Your mistress also confirmed the purchases to investigators as part of her own cooperation. Talia gasped. I didn't know. You did, Emily whispered, but you were never my fight. Talia lowered her head and walked out of the ballroom in shame. No apology, no goodbye, just a quiet exit, saving herself. The room buzzed with whispers like a hive of angry bees. Marcus turned back to Emily, eyes wild. Please, Emily, stop this. Don't do this to me. Emily looked at him, finally letting her emotions settle. Not anger, not revenge, but clarity. You did this, she said, voice steady. The moment you spit on me, you showed everyone who you are. Marcus dropped to his knees. I'll change. I'll fix it. I'll do anything. Emily, don't take everything from me. Emily took a small breath before revealing the last twist, one that made the room fall silent again. Your father will keep his job. Marcus froze. What? Emily stepped toward Harold Bennett, his father, who stood trembling with emotion. Your father showed me respect when none of you did. He earned his work honestly. I would never punish dignity. Harold blinked hard, eyes watering. Thank you, Emily. Thank you. Marcus looked shattered. Dad, you knew? You're working for her company? You didn't tell me. Harold shook his head slowly. You never asked about my struggles. She did. The humiliation hit Marcus harder than any punch. His own father admired the woman he mistreated. Emily turned back to Marcus and held out the legal envelope. Mr. Reynolds spoke formally. Petition for dissolution of marriage, irreconcilable cruelty, financial misconduct, and emotional harm. We also reserve the right to pursue further action for defamation, if necessary. Marcus's mouth fell open. Dissolution? You're divorcing me. Emily met his eyes one last time. Yes, Marcus. I deserve peace. Marcus reached for her. Emily, please, please don't. Two large security guards stepped forward, following protocol arranged by the venue and Reynolds' team in case things escalated. They gently but firmly pulled Marcus to his feet. No, Marcus cried, voice cracking. Emily, Emily! The guards lifted him slightly off the ground as he struggled. The guests watched silently, phones recording every second. His mother sobbed. His sisters hid behind their hands. His father stood tall, ashamed of his son. Please, Marcus shouted, throat breaking. I can't lose everything. But the guards kept walking. Emily turned away. As Marcus was dragged out, Emily whispered, You haven't lost everything yet, but you will. The morning burst open with sharp, blinding sunlight, so bright that Emily had to shield her eyes as she stepped out of her car. The brightness felt almost aggressive at first, as if the world wanted to confront her with everything she had survived. Her shoes clicked softly on the ground as she walked toward the large silver gate ahead. It was the same gate thousands of employees passed through every day, the same gate she once dreamed of owning, the same gate Marcus laughed she would never reach. Today, she wasn't sneaking in. She wasn't hiding. She wasn't pretending to be someone else. She was CEO Emily Lawson, walking through the front entrance of the empire she built from her broken pieces. But before she reached the gate, a voice shook slightly behind the booth window. Ms. Lawson? Emily turned. There he was, Harold Bennett, Marcus's father. The man who once showed her more kindness than her own husband ever did. The man who lost everything yet still carried his dignity. Today he stood in his uniform, cap tucked under his arm, posture a little straighter than when he first started. He stepped out from the booth, uniform neatly ironed. His eyes glistened with emotion the moment they met hers, not just as his former daughter-in-law, but now fully understanding who she was at this gate. Ma'am, he whispered, his voice trembling. Emily smiled softly. Good morning, Mr. Bennett. Harold swallowed hard, but tears fell anyway. I didn't expect you after last night. I saw the videos. All of it. I'm so sorry you had to be treated that way. My son, he wasn't raised to treat anyone like that. Emily shook her head gently. You don't owe me any apology for his actions. Harold inhaled shakily, struggling to speak. I lost my old job. I thought I'd lost my purpose. Then this company gave me a chance. I thought it was just luck. But you saw value in me when my own son didn't think I was worth anything. Emily's chest tightened with emotion. Mr. Bennett, you were the only one in that family who ever believed in me. You never mocked me. You encouraged me when I had nothing left. He looked down at his hands. I was proud of you long before I knew who Miss Lawson really was. Emily stepped closer and placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. And I am proud of you too. You deserve this job. You earned it. Nothing changes that. Not your son, not last night, not anything. Harold nodded slowly, tears running freely now. I don't know what will happen with the court and the divorce, but if you ever need anything, Ms. Lawson, anything at all, you come to me. Emily took a steady breath and looked at the sunrise spilling over the horizon. For the first time in a long time, the world felt open, not heavy, not suffocating. Open. Her dreams felt bigger than the sky in front of her. The air tasted different too, lighter, kinder, full of possibility. She glanced back at the building that bore her name. Lawson Organics was no longer a secret she hid in floorboards or whispered about in midnight meetings. It was her truth, her creation, her freedom. She thought briefly of Marcus, of court dates ahead, of legal steps already set in motion. His downfall would continue in documents and hearings, not in public scenes. That part didn't need a stage. Her healing did. She turned to Harold again. "I'm heading inside. There's a lot to build today." Harold nodded proudly. "Go change the world, Ms. Lawson." She smiled, then walked through the gate. The sun rose higher, casting a golden glow behind her as her footsteps moved confidently toward the main entrance. She felt her aunt's presence in the warmth of the light. She felt her own strength in every breath. She felt the silence around her, not empty, not weak, but powerful. Silent storms were always the strongest. Her voice echoed in the quiet morning. A whisper meant only for herself. Sometimes silence is not weakness. Sometimes it's the sound of a storm gathering. Her hair lifted gently in the wind as she stepped forward. No Marcus, no humiliation, no fear. Just Emily Lawson, reborn, powerful, peaceful, unstoppable. She pushed open the glass doors, ready to begin a new chapter. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed creating it. Like, share, and comment on the lessons you've learned. Let me know where you're watching from in the comments below. See you in my next video.